Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Guardians of the Galaxy. I've got an Infinity Stone. Yeah, there it is. All the power you need. I won't touch it though. Hey, yeah, this is obviously the 2014 2 hour and 2 minute long modern classic MCU film, Marvel Cinematic Universe epic. This is Marvel's first shot into going galaxy wide, shooting off into space, introducing a whole new set of characters that are beyond the standards that we've become used to. Well, of course, Spider-Man and the X-Men through different studios, and then Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, putting together the Avengers. These guys are the bad guys, who are technically the only good guys you're going to find in that part of the galaxy, and who take the chance to save the galaxy by guarding it. So, yeah, we got Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, and so many more. Yeah, I got all of them, right? Please tell me I got all of them. Yeah, my brain just sort of blanked out there as I'm naming names. I don't even need IMDb for this. There's so many people in this film, in big and small parts. Some of you would be kind of surprised to see Glenn Close as Nova Prime showing up in this thing. There's a cameo by Nathan Fillion. Of course, you don't see his face. He's the prisoner who attacks Peter Quill, and Groot stops him by shoving his tree parts up his nose. And I mean, this is, yeah, that's just all, hey, trivia, yay. But the core of this film is, strangely enough, about family, or at least found family. Everybody here they make a point in this that says everybody has lost family through one form or another. Peter doesn't exactly know yet how he lost his mom. He thinks it's just cancer. But we all know in the sequel that it's a whole lot more to that. And yeah. But in case you don't know, honestly, I don't know if I can really give you a spoiler-free review or discussion of this, because, hey, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not like it's been hard to find. I almost didn't even have to watch this, but I did, because I enjoy revisiting things that I know so well. I think I've seen this movie more than any other MCU film released in the last 10 plus years. Mainly because I used to have a job where it was my job to watch movies and TV shows and make sure that the things worked. I mean, it's between this or Captain America Winter Soldier that I've seen so many times, countless times. And yeah, this was most of the time available to watch, and I'd have to rewind it, fast forward it, pause it, make sure all the controls worked. It was a fun job, and I got paid to watch Guardians of the Galaxy, unlike right now, unless you want to just send me money. But yeah, right now I'm not making any money. Anyway, this is a story of a kid who has lost everything and has been taken away from Earth for mysterious reasons. At first, we don't learn until later in the film, but he grows up traveling the galaxy, living out his dreams of being the next Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, but mostly Han Solo, a scoundrel. He's a Ravager, or a former Ravager, who goes around stealing things. By the way, just in case, I got this, put this in while I'm thinking of it, if you haven't watched the second episode of Marvel's What If series on Disney Plus, watch it. It gives us a different story where T'Challa, the Black Panther, was taken from Earth instead of Peter Quill, and how that changed the galaxy in profound ways. And it also leads probably to another chapter that does involve Peter Quill, and how things probably go really off the rails as a result. So yeah, they seem to be one single episode stories, but I have a feeling they're building into something more in time. But yeah, it's Peter meets up with a bunch of other people who are all trying to get this MacGuffin. And as we see, I mean, this is kind of the first time, even though the Infinity Stones we saw technically in the Tesseract and Captain America, and in the Avengers and everything else. Uh, this is kind of the first time we get an idea of what everybody's really after. Through the collector, Benicio del Toro, we learn what this thing is inside here and what its greater meaning is, why everybody wants it, why Thanos specifically wants it. And we get to see Thanos fully formed for the first time with Josh Brolin doing the voice. And I guess the motion capture for the very first time in the film, rather than just that head turn at the end of Avengers. This is the jumping off point for so much to come. It's not just Guardians of the Galaxy stories. We're going to see a lot more cosmic things coming our way, especially with the Eternals. It seems earthbound, but it is very cosmic. If you know what the Jack Kirby series was all about originally, and it's morphed over the years. There's a new series out right now from Marvel for Eternals, but yeah, I'm talking about everything but Guardians of the Galaxy here. I realize that. Sorry, but no, this is the primer for anybody who wants to understand what everything led to in the last two Avengers films, with all the Infinity Stones being collected and used against us by Thanos to wipe out half of not humanity, half of all life in existence. That reality. So yeah, this is a very important film structurally, and yeah, it's a James Gunn film, so it's going to have a lot of humor. There's always, no matter how serious and profound a moment may become for some of the characters or for the audience. And this is a complaint that some people may have about it, but I think it works very well especially for James Gunn, as it has throughout his career. There's always humor that kind of undercuts it, and yeah, and it's not just a James Gunn thing. It's almost an MCU thing, especially when you deal with a character like Tony Stark. It doesn't. I don't think it reduces the moment and the heaviness of a moment. Always, sometimes yes, but. I think it's the nature of these characters to be either wrapped up in their own heads or constantly sniping, putting the blame on other people, being petulant, doing things that other heroes would not be doing, because again, they're not heroes. At least that's not what they see themselves as. That's not what anybody else sees themselves as until they're put to the test and they're brought together to create the Guardians of the Galaxy, a name given to them by Lee Pace as Ronan the Accuser, who is a very different character than he is in the comics, but it works. He's a lower boss level Thanos character, and if this was a video game, you'd have to get through him before you could fight Thanos. And yeah, he's a proxy, because they were saving Thanos for the Infinity War and Endgame. So yeah, it's you can't have Thanos come in too soon, even though he has a presence. We get to explore. We get to see who Gamora and Nebula are. We get our first glimpse at them. I mean, we get to see a movie that stars a talking tree, with a small vocabulary, and a talking raccoon. And yeah, I mean, there's been various different types of Guardians of the Galaxy characters over the years. The one I knew first was the ones from the year 3000, which had just so many different, very different characters, which we kind of see in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. We see pieces of throughout, but yeah, those will probably be touched on in Guardians 3, but even more so. But yeah, it's in this sense, we get a team that's not where they want to be, and it takes them coming together against a greater threat to elevate them to the level of herohood. Herohood, is herohood a word? Herodom? I don't know. It's just it's one of these things where, yeah, I mean, sure, we did this with Tony Stark. He's a weapons manufacturer. He's all into himself more than anything else. yeah, and out of this, he's forced to become a hero, and especially making the big sacrifice all the way at the end game. Um, Dang it, this is Dusty. Excuse me. No edits. No edits. All the way through. Sorry. Yeah, we see the person who is the unassuming non-hero becoming the hero, and this is a whole team of them. When you think about other movies that are super movies that have superheroes in them, and you think of iconic heroes like over in DC, that James Gunn has, by the way, has done the same thing, taking villains with Suicide Squad and making them into heroes despite themselves. Yeah, that's his thing. So he did a really good job with it. I really love Suicide Squad. But when you look at DC and they have so much struggle trying to make a movie about characters we know and love, like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and it's not that they haven't done well, especially with each of those characters over the years. The original Superman and Superman 2 are iconic templates for superhero stories, and there's been various Batman movies that have been beyond excellent, and Wonder Woman, despite some people's misgivings about it was a great original film, even though she didn't have a ton of agency. That's another whole story. But the idea is that it's been a struggle to make movies about people who we know, and we know their power set. We don't have to think about it, and Marvel just walks in with James Gunn and says, okay, this movie has a tree and a raccoon, and they talk. And the raccoon is Tony Stark level genius. The tree is sweet, kind, yet violent, and is the muscle of the film, other than Drax. But yeah. And there's a romance thrown in there a little bit. Or Quill's just horny. And that's what he is. That's what he does. So he hops from woman to woman, creature to creature throughout the galaxy. Speaking of Quill, I gotta show you this. This is a copy of the very first appearance of Star-Lord in a comic book. Yeah, it's not in great condition, but hey, in a magazine, not just a comic book, but a comic magazine. That's the very first appearance of Star-Lord, Peter Quill. It's kind of cool. Just had that on hand. It's part of my collection. But yeah, I'm bragging now. Guardians of the Galaxy holds a space in my heart, not only because it's the most watched movie that I've ever seen out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but because it's introduced or reintroduced characters in a new way. The Peter Quill of that comic is nothing like the Peter Quill we see from. Why can't I say his name now? That's the only person whose name I did say. Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is very different from the Chris Pratt Star-Lord, and this Star-Lord ended up influencing how Star-Lord was depicted in the comics going forward once this movie came out. So it's a touchstone film in many different ways, and they created one and soon to be two different Disney park rides, one in Florida soon, and one obviously in California Adventure. So it's I'm just still amazed that they could make such an entertaining film that starred a tree and a raccoon, and we took it seriously. And suddenly I see people everywhere just wearing Groot or Rocket shirts. And the idea, you would have told me 15, 20 years ago that we'd be seeing this many superhero films and somehow Rocket and Groot would be known by pretty much everybody. My mom has seen these films. Both of them. She's going to see the third one probably. Don't take too long. James. But yeah, it's just it's a big deal. So again, if you haven't watched these things, or maybe it's been too long since you've seen it last, revisit it. It's a nice refresher to bring everything that we've learned since. So much has evolved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since this moment. Since the Collector explained what all the Infinity Stones were about, where they came from, and why they're so powerful. And that was just the start of something much, much bigger that had only been hinted at before in the previous films. So, in the all the Avengers films leading up to that. So, yeah, should this been a hit? No, no, there's no reason. Looking at everything, but I think what its strong points are its humor, the great casting, and of course soundtrack. The soundtrack is a plot point. It's the Walkman that Peter carries with him is an actual part of the story. It drives him to do some crazy things just to maintain that music. And of course, there's so many needle drops throughout. It's beyond Edgar Wright or Quentin Tarantino. James Gunn is the master of making a soundtrack that reflects not just the story but the characters that that are aware of the music. It's not just noise that plays in the background to evoke an emotion or a nostalgic feeling. It's actually something that is a part of who that, in this case, Peter Quill, eventually Gamora in a little bit, because as she expresses interest in it. And in the next film, Rocket has used it to stay connected with Quill in a strange way when they all sort of seem to go their separate ways. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't see how anybody could hate this film. It's just good fun. Is it high art? We're just, it's one of the greatest films ever made? No, it's not. Why do you expect every movie to be that way? Art is something that's at all levels of quality and content and style, and it's not for everybody. But there is art out there for everybody. Just like I say, there's a comic book out there for everybody. Guardians of the Galaxy might be yours. It might not be. Could be Captain America. It could be Superman. You don't know. But I'm now rambling. No, just now. I've been doing that for 17 minutes. Anyway, let's pick tomorrow's episode.
13.
13. Okay. What do we got here? Oh, 13. We had 14 not too long ago. It's now time for the original classic from 1992. We are going to watch Aladdin. An animated Disney animated Renaissance era film starring Robin Williams as the genie. So get ready for that. Tomorrow we're going to see Aladdin from 1992 on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you there tomorrow.